Welcome to episode 4 of Malaise, the yearly post-season tournament that we do to figure out which amiibo is the absolute worst. So for our first match, we're going to be having Shulk against Lucina. Also, as a general reminder, is that every year, the 4 lowest ranking amiibos always get retrained. We currently have deduced the 8 lowest ranking amiibo, which means that the loser of this match will be in the bottom 4, which means that they will receive a retraining. So, you lose this, you're getting retrained, which, in amiibo terms, is kind of like we turn the on switch on changing your personality again. We don't completely delete everything the amiibo has going on and restart, just because that feels a little disingenuous, that it would really just be replacing them out with an identical copy with the same name and kind of like a perfectly timed imposter. So instead we do just change what tendencies they have so that you should still be able to see certain patterns they've kept the same, but they should also be winning more of their fights. Shulk sending Lucina off stage, but the stage switch actually gives her a ledge to grab, and she drops on the ledge and back airs Shulk, almost immediately killing him. Lucina suddenly getting a whole bunch of damage on Shulk really quick. Shulk having a hard time to respond. Now Shulk does have the Monado, which I believe is the name of the sword. It gets a little complicated just because of how much, just the sheer amount of lore that's in Xenoblade Chronicles. So I'm pretty sure Monado is Shulk's sword, but he can also use Monado arts, which are basically the different. When he pulls up a random piece of kanji, well, not random. When he pulls up a piece of kanji and it comes with its own color, you can actually see above his little icon as well. He's currently in the Buster art. So Shulk can do that as a derivative property of the Monado, which I'm still pretty sure is the sword, unless there's more lore I'm not aware of. So, as you can see, Shulk pulls it out on the regular. It's got the funny shaped sword, and then it's got like this laser that comes out of it, which I believe is optional for Shulk to do, since it's like one of the coolest things for him to do in Smash Brothers. He's usually pulling out the laser mode for almost all of his Monado-based attacks. As a result, though, it does start to bring in the balancing equation of the longer your move is and the more room it covers up, the more lag it has to have on it as a result. And since Shulk has an incredibly long sword for all of his attacks, you can tell that, well, you can tell just visually that it takes a lot longer for his hitboxes to actually come out to start damaging the opponent. Up air, not quite killing Shulk. That's actually a little impressive. When Shulk's in Jump Monado, it makes him a little bit lighter, kind of as a natural consequence of being more agile. He can move around the screen quicker, but it also lowers his weight, so things will damage him more as well. Smash Monado up smash will kill Lucina at 70%. Smash Monado does increase the amount of knockback that Shulk's attacks inflict, so it's great for securing the kill, but early on in stock you're usually not going to see it, at least if a Shulk knows what they're doing, because that's when you need to start racking up the damage on the opponent. Shulk going into speed, barely making it back to the ledge. Speed actually to his benefit there, because he really did need the distance. And he didn't really need much of the height. Shulk teching on the floor. That's something that I've noticed a lot of people do not know, is the timing of the stage transformations. On this stage and other stages, a lot like it, you have a central governing platform that effectively the arena flies around it, although it would be interesting to know if, from a code perspective, it's actually the other way around. Shulk getting a footstool, sending Lucina off the stage to her death. It's not going to come to save her, and it's going to cut that topic a little bit short, which means Lucina is going to need to be retrained. And for our next match, we're going to have Banjo and Kazooie against Baytwotta. Looks like we're going to be on Fountain of Dreams for this one. Now, the platform arrangement is slightly to Baytotta's disadvantage, simply because she does have a lot of combos that involve a lot of hits, that involve bringing the opponent all around. And on the free platform arrangements, like you can see here, the opponent always has a habit of landing on the ground when you least need them to. I'm sure there are mitigating factors you can take to not suffer the consequences, but it's just something to note, really. In general, in the game, most characters don't particularly suffer because of the existence of platforms, unless they have a particular move that either is to their detriment, or sometimes if they have a move that just perfectly hits someone who is standing on top of the top platform. It more actually affects how often a character lands and what options they have in landing and what kind of punishments they have. Just one of the many things that makes Smash Ultimate and all the Smash Bros. Games really so interesting. Baytwotta gets Banjo in a combo, and you could actually see there she only got 2 hits before he was able to put his feet on the ground on the top platform and able to shield out of any further damage that he wouldn't want inflicted on his person. Or I guess they're persons, because Banjo and Kazooie are 2 separate organic beings, even if in gameplay terms they're just one character, conjoined together by the fact that Kazooie always hangs out in Banjo's backpack. Baytwotta might not have gotten her feet on the ground. She actually did just pull out her double jump, instantly proving me wrong. Baytwotta going low, not dying off the bottom of the screen. Sometimes you really do wonder with these amiibo. Gets Banjo up high, does not finish the combo with anything particularly noteworthy. Catching the grenade one final time, but then it blew up in her hands immediately after. Back throw is going to kill Baytwotta. Up smash on the platform, not quite killing Banjo. He tech rolled away from that up smash. Probably saved his life. Banjo needs to get back on stage. Baytwotta having fun just playing off stage. Not entirely sure why. Why she is doing it, not why she's having fun, although I guess I don't know that either. Two hits of the forward air, not 3. Interesting decision by Baytwotta. Banjo goes for the up air that time. Up throw, I should have said. Baytwotta still just needs to find a kill on Banjo if she wants to win this. She did finally land one with a random forward smash. Okay, so I call it random. You could call it a read. It all depends. A lot of these things are very hazily or ill-defined. Baytwotta thrown off stage. Does have enough recovery to actually grab the ledge. And had the right idea there with the forward smash, but was too quick, so Banjo was able to tech on the ground and avoid getting hit by it. Back throw not killing Baytwotta this time. Banjo actually gets a footstool on Baytwotta. Back throw is going to kill again. Baytwotta is effectively a stock behind, which is not great for her. Does put Banjo in a much cozier position. Especially more so than other characters, in that Banjo still has most of his uses of Wonder Wing, which is, as it turns out, a really good move. It turns you invincible, it's a good hitbox. It's absolutely great at beating projectiles. But it turns out that Banjo also has a lot of great projectile stuff and shenanigans to do on his own, so he doesn't need to use it to beat projectiles super often, but that is always an option he has. Banjo tech rolling through the second up smash, something that we've seen happen multiple times this round. Gets Baytwotta off stage, she air dodges through him. And a parry from Banjo. Wonder Wing is not quite enough to kill Baytwotta, who's now struggling to get back to the stage. Back throw from center stage is not nearly enough to kill. Baytwotta now needs to play this very... Oh, and that's probably going to do it. Yep, Banjo is the winner. And now we're at Marth against Pikachu. Going to be on Gamer for this one. Very raw forward smash out of nowhere. Does get damage on Pikachu, which is something that, well, any character needs to be doing in order to win, but... Pikachu falling into the kind of charged up smash. You can always charge a smash attack further. Well, there is a limit, of course. You can charge a smash attack further. It does deal more damage, does deal more knockback. It kind of scales. But one of the most valuable aspects of charging a smash attack is it lets you change the timing of when you release it. So if your opponent is falling into you, you can hold your smash attack until they fall into the smash attack and then actually hit them with it. It's a nice... Honestly, it's interesting because originally charging a smash attack further was just supposed to make it stronger and more powerful. And it does do that, but it's usually pretty hard to hit someone with a heavily charged smash attack because they can just do anything to not get hit by it. Usually only comes up in, for example, in casual battles, when you have some sort of effect that puts the opponent to sleep, or some other similar helpless situation. And then you do want the extra damage and the extra knockback, because you're either killing them or getting them prepared for death. Meanwhile, in a 1v1 setting, you mainly do see charged smash attacks being used to change up the timing of the attack. Not really doing it for the power, although you can still sometimes. Every once in a while, a character will get their shield broken. Marth, you could actually hear from the audio that he tried to use this up special about 3 times in there. He got a couple of them off eventually, but... Playing on the top platform here, Pikachu knocking him off and then following him. Usually a gameplay trend you happen to see with a particularly experienced player and a particularly inexperienced player is that the good player will knock the bad player around all day, then have to chase them to keep up, and sometimes the worse off player will try to start running away, which... It's something that I can understand why they would feel inclined to do so. If you're engaging an opponent head-on and it's just not working, you want to try something else. But also, if you were just wiping the floor with your opponent, you do want to just end it faster, so you're going to keep rushing them down and just smacking them all over the place. Spike, Marth gets a tech, and he's able to recover successfully. Pikachu did land a down air, but he landed a late hit of the down air, allowing Marth to live and not get spiked off the bottom of the screen. Pikachu gets Marth off the side, hitting him with the, I believe Pikachu's up special is Quick Attack. Forward throw. Marth is able to jump back, swats Pikachu off the way so he can safely grab the ledge. Pikachu gets a drag down with the forward air. You usually don't see that. Usually because it particularly doesn't work. Also, forward air is a kill move. A lot of great techs we're seeing today. Down smash. Marth gets the tech. Up smash. Marth actually hit the threshold where he couldn't tech that, so he had to bounce around like a pinball a couple of times. Eventually, he did lose a stock off that interaction. In older Smash games, you actually couldn't. Well, you actually could always tech large damage attacks like that. And that made a problem where if someone became good at teching, they could just live everything if there were a couple of walls nearby. For Smash 4, they tried something interesting, which is there's a special tumble animation you can go into about 1/4 of the time. In Smash 4, they made it so that if you're in that tumble animation, which is, again, purely random, just when you're hit at a high enough percentage, you either go into it or you don't. When you're in that tumbling animation, you couldn't tech. And it did actually provide... It provided some interesting situations, because first of all, it meant you couldn't tech stuff forever. Eventually, you would just lose the 1 in 4 chance, and then you would die. But as a casual player perspective, oftentimes you would hit the wall so fast you couldn't actually see if you were tumbling or not. So you always had at the back of your mind, was that a techable interaction or was that not? So in Smash Bros. Ultimate, they decided to make it knockback based. At high enough levels of knockback, you can no longer tech. There's a little special indicator that can also help you see that just because you missed the tech doesn't mean that you had the choice, effectively. But now it makes you feel even worse when you don't get a tech that you could have gotten. Because usually whoever you're fighting will say, oh, I didn't see the effect, you could have teched that. And then they'll call you a loser or something. But that's just human nature. Give someone an ability to interact with someone else unanimously, and they will pretty much always find a way to use it in the most toxic ways possible. Smash Ultimate actually has a system when you're playing online to use little I want to say pre-recorded messages, but it's actually just selected by the game, which does coincidentally mean you can use them in whatever language the other user is using. They can also read them because they've already been pre-translated. But curiously enough, when you see anyone who bothers to use the little simple messages, they always use it in a way that is toxic, because that's human nature. Alright, Marth wins. That means Pikachu is going to have to be retrained. For the last match of this episode, we're going to be having Peach against Zero Suit's Samus. Even though she is actually wearing some sort of outfit, usually in most of the other colorations, she wears like this little, I guess I'd call it like a blue jumpsuit of some sort. Very skin clingy. Obviously, it's supposed to be like Samus would wear something underneath the metal suit, which is something that's always been a little hazily defined in Metroid. Like, what exactly it is. Apparently, it's like energy based, and she can summon it at will, and all of that stuff. So even though it's called Zero Suit Samus, she's wearing a much smaller, thinner, like something you'd probably see like someone doing for like aerobics or acrobatics or something. Which does at least make sense, because when you think of Samus's power suit, I believe that's what it's called, you're obviously thinking of the enormous powered armor that she wears that gives her a laser cannon. Definitely a lot more remarkable than her weekly CrossFit gear. Also, you did hear me right, this is the last match of the episode. The next match is going to be best 3 out of 5, and after that we're going to have the finals, which is always best out of 5. Just how we do things here. That doesn't mean that we did find the short episode. I'm not exactly upset, because I do need to get these out a little bit faster. This is called Malaise after all, and, well, I'm not exactly sure which date this is going to come up, but I can tell you it's no longer being recorded in the month of May. But also, since there isn't anything on the line, people aren't going to be particularly upset. Although I do wish I could have gotten everything out a little bit earlier this year. Every year I do try to start a little bit earlier than I did last year, specifically to meet all of these arbitrary deadlines I've imposed on myself. And every year it always seems that there's a lot of stuff that happens. Usually a lot of things out of my control, and a couple that probably, I will say, are in my control, even if I might not like to admit it, that always tend to delay things. But also, maybe you're watching this from two 2 years from now and none of the same things are applying. So, won't harp on that too long. It's also why I don't like to date these videos. They're up forever on the internet. So just because one guy was having a... And that's a funny swing from Zero Suit Samus. Something that everyone with tethers is always capable of. But you usually don't see it. First of all, because usually you get stages that have a solid platform. And also, a lot of tethers don't usually have that much momentum that they can actually swing around. Granted, this stage does have more unique stage geometry on the sides, so you actually can swing up onto the platform without even having to hit above the 180% line. That's a lot of text from Peach, and she missed the last one, so she died anyway. Alright, both characters is kind of dancing out of range of each other. Zero Suit Samus got part of a forward air in, and then Peach just auto-healed it. The auto-heal does go a little bit against the characters who have lengthy combos, but not necessarily damaging attacks, simply because their combos take longer. It was actually part of the design for whenever these amiibo are made to go against human players and be effective at that, and we're putting them against each other for our entertainment, basically. And when you're against these amiibo as a human, since all these amiibo have 2100 stats in attack and defense, you deal a lot less damage, and the amiibos deal a lot more damage. So for every neutral interaction you're losing, you're taking more damage, doing less on the opponent. If you are a character like Zero Suit Samus or Sheik, let's say, then you have a lot of these longer combos, and as a human opponent, it's hard enough to get damage on the amiibo anyway, let alone the fact they're also auto-healing what little damage you are giving them. So if you are not being very efficient, then they can actually start healing faster than you can start damaging them. Also means that any sort of cheap chip damage or keep away game just isn't going to be effective, because every moment you are not interacting with the amiibo is just to your detriment. They are getting stronger, and as a human you don't get that privilege. I guess you could put on your spirits of your own, but then if you wanted the amiibo to be effective against that, you'd have to train them different, which is not something that we've been doing. Already when you're training an amiibo, you especially do need to know what they're going to be going against so you can train them appropriately. You could think of it as like a sort of chart that... And Zero Suit Samus not grabbing the ledge. She actually grabs the ledge, just enough recovery to do so. Back air, not enough to kill Zero Suit Samus. Zero Suit Samus has definitely benefited from the slightly larger blast zones on the stage, keeping her alive a lot longer, which gives her a lot more time to figure out some sort of way to kill her opponent. Up air, okay, that is going to kill Zero Suit Samus. It will happen eventually. Peach catching Zero Suit Samus with a lot of these up airs. Gets a footstool off of her, but probably wasn't expecting it because she didn't know how to follow it up. Training the Zero Suit Samus amiibo is a little bit difficult because Zero Suit Samus has a lot of moves that you use to rack up percentage on your opponent and moves that you use to kill your opponent. There really isn't much overlap, which it's easier to train an amiibo when you can just kind of teach them to use the one move over and over. Naturally, they will use more than just one move only, but you are effectively choosing their way. It's kind of like a genetic learning thing, which was basically AI before AI became such a huge, dominant thing that it has. Samus lands the flip kick on Peach. It's very hard to actually get the auto stomp to connect with opponents, I've noticed. Except for some reason when a Zero Suit Samus is going against me, then they always seem to get it. it's one of those moves that has a detection range to detect the opponent, and then the move comes out. And just due to the sizes of the hitboxes and the delay between detecting an opponent and the hitbox coming out, it always seems like the opponent just, if they're doing something, it'll move them out of the way just fast enough. Peach shielding instead of trying to parry the whole up smash. She gets back aired shortly thereafter, but she has a large percentage lead against Zero Suit Samus. And now we're going to be going into overtime. Sudden Death, which we will be playing out as we always have. We haven't seen it much this year. I want to say that the amiibo have gotten more effective. Forward air not killing Peach? Peach not grabbing the ledge either. All right. Well, Zero Suit Samus won that, I guess. Little confusing of an ending, but it's the ending we've got. Bye.